Hello, Neil.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for finding time and coming to share with us your opinion about our future, our plans from the Conservative Party. As a native person from Montreal, as a very successful lawyer, I would like you to share with us the story. What made you decide to, already in your very busy life, to find time and become a politician?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. And this is a great opportunity, and I'll tell you why. What's going on in our country, going on in our riding, is completely unacceptable. Each and every one of you must see on a daily basis how you're impacted by a government that doesn't take the necessary steps to protect your financial interests, your personal interests, and more importantly, our community's interest. I'm a simple man. I don't come from a fancy background. I'm the first person in my family to be educated. There are no lawyers. I'm a working person. But I decided to get into this because I care. I care for you, I care for you, and I care for you. I could stay back in my law office, continue to bill my clients, and probably not be adversely impacted. But every citizen has an obligation to stand up and to be heard. And what I am saying to you today and to everybody in our community is that it is now incumbent on us to say we reject the Liberals, we reject the NDP, and we need to bring back Canada to where it used to be. Because right now, we're all suffering. We're suffering from anti-Semitism, we're suffering from economic hardships, and more importantly, we're suffering something that we should never suffer from, a lack of hope. Hope that we will have a better life, a better community, and more importantly, for our children. Our children need to know that their journey in life has a good ending. Right now, that's not clear. And when it's not clear for you and it's not clear for you, it's certainly not clear for me. So I decided to get into this because I feel passionately that we need somebody who has a good background, a solid understanding of the facts, and more importantly, I'm a fighter. I'm going to fight for you, I'm going to fight for you. And I'm going to make sure that whatever we do, at the end of the day, we are going to be successful. So this is why I'm doing it, and I think that was a great opening question.
Thank you very much. I like hearing from you that you're a fighter, because we need somebody who's going to fight for us. Myself, I came to this country 25 years ago, and I remember the feeling. I'm a young professional starting in the real estate profession. I was proud Canadian. I would sell houses to newcomers, new immigrants, or young professionals, and I would be 100% sure that they would do well. I would make the calculation and I would see their beautiful life in their beautiful house. Today, when I meet first-time comers or first-time buyers, immigrants, young professionals, I calculate 100 times. I explain about every payment because I understand how tight is the budget and what is the solution. People need places to live. So we have to work with it, but we almost don't have now a potential. Every time I have people with a limited budget, I'm really getting sad because I see there is no future for me, for my children, for my clients.
So there's a couple of questions in there and I want to break it down. We are only successful when we have the ability and the tools to be successful. We cannot continue on a pathway where your daily hard work goes unrewarded. You look at your paycheck and it keeps shrinking, but the costs keep going up. Why? How come? Who's responsible? And then you say, where can I live? Can I buy a home? Can I afford to move up in life? And the answer right now is no. It's a solid no. Now the question is, why? And what are we going to do to make it better as the Conservative Party? Well, first thing, why? It's because it's poor management. Our government doesn't manage our country very well. It spends more than it has, it doesn't have proper fiscal policy, and it doesn't do one thing that's most important. It doesn't give you hope that your hard work will benefit you. So we need to now be able to bring back that sense where you can buy a home. In order to buy a home, you have to first have a job that gives you money. Secondly, there has to be inventory. For inventory, it means that we have to build more homes. To build more homes, we need people to get permits from their local municipalities, from people who will be able to allow those homes to be built. But when you have a lot of bureaucracy, you can't build homes because there's too many things to do. Now, we all know that municipal regulations is not the jurisdiction of the federal government, but a strong leader in Ottawa would have said and worked with the municipalities and the provinces to stop and cut through the red tape to be able to get homes built. Incentives could be provided by the federal government to the provincial governments and then trickle down to individuals. But right now we don't have that. What we have here is a lack of inventory, high interest rates, and then they're going to say, oh, the interest rates aren't so high. They're high. Okay, let's call it what it is. And then you also have to be able to feel comfortable that your job will allow you to continue to earn that money so you can pay your monthly mortgage. Look, the system is broken. Now, my job is not to have answers for everything, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to meet with local people, with business people, and get from them an input. What doesn't work and how do you see it working? Because government shouldn't work in a vacuum. You vote for your elected official and that's the last time you hear about them for the next 4 years. The Conservative Party of Canada intends on working with communities to understand your needs, to better facilitate the transformation of legislation at all levels of government to get a better outcome. So that's what we're going to do. But I'm going to also tell you something that's very important. And I talked about this at the beginning, hope. It's not an intangible concept. When people don't feel hopeful for their lives and for their future, they're not as productive, right? Because if you get up every morning, you go, what am I doing? Is it really doing? Is it moving the needle? And you say, no, it's not. Your level of productivity goes down. Now Canadians are demoralized and in part dehumanized by a conduct of a government that doesn't have any responsibility for the actions that it's taking. We're going to bring back hope. We're going to bring back that sense that being Canadian is hopeful. And then hopefully, with that, we'll then be able to transform that into relooking at legislation, making sure that fiscal policy meets the requirements of its citizens, and more importantly, we're going to cut through the red tape. Because you know it's red, tape is red, and that's the Liberals that create red tape, not the Conservatives.
Actually, it's very right what you're saying, because many people today would say, oh, it's not so bad. Federal government came up with few ideas how to help us to pay our mortgages. They extended time, they changed the stress
Extended
test.
the term to 30 years.
Exactly, but what you're gonna buy, it's gonna create more of competition, the price is gonna go even higher, and the inventory is still not there. So,
Yes.
to my understanding, they have to build cities, they have to build hospitals, they have to build schools.
Sure, but you know, that all goes to the issue that's a collaboration between the provinces and the federal government. A federal leader is supposed to bring people from across the nation together and set goals and orientations that will build a better country. Again, I want to repeat to you, there are probably answers to each and every one of those questions, but that's not going to satisfy the people who are going to watch this. What the people who are watching this are going to go, what's the plan? How are we going to get from here to here? First of all, that plan is extremely large because there's so many facets to discuss and we don't have months and months to do it. But one thing is for sure, that if we do nothing, we're not going to get anywhere. And I think the first thing we need to do is change our government, go back and look at our institutions, reduce the bureaucracy, increase efficiency, but give hope to Canadians that their vote will count. Your vote will count. But it'll only count when we have an election, which the current government doesn't want to have happen because they're comfortable by making you continue to suffer. And this is something we reject as Conservatives. As you know, there's supposed to be a non-confidence vote coming up,
yes,
but it's not being supported by the BQ, the Bloc Québécois, and also the NDP, which has had a coalition with the Liberals for quite a long time.
Then I want to talk to you about community issue. And community issue is an anti-Semitism. And for me, it goes to my personal story. It goes to every community member. My 11-year-old going with me after her Jewish school in her uniform to IKEA. What she is doing first, she is closing her jacket not to show where she is from, who she is. She's hiding her personality. Being born an ex-Soviet Union, I remember what does it mean. And definitely, I don't expect my kids going through that again. My 20-year-old student at Concordia, and I think it's your actually alma mater.
Yes.
Going to his classes from building to building has to face every day very violent demonstrations.
Sure. Why is the question?
Yes, and what can be done?
So, first of all, I want to reassure each and every one of you that I hear you, Pierre Polyev hears you, and Pierre is a strong supporter of our community and of Israel, unlike the other guy. The reality is our community is currently suffering anti-Semitism that has not been seen since World War II. It has increased exponentially, disproportionately, for one reason, because it's allowed to increase. It's allowed to exist because we don't have strong leadership at the federal level. We don't have people saying anti-Semitism is not correct. More importantly, and I think you know I've been involved with taking injunctions against McGill to stop the Hamas encampments, the pro-Hamas encampments. I filed lawsuits on behalf of the Federation to get injunctions to ensure that those institutions are protected. But let me tell you something about anti-Semitism. It doesn't only affect Jewish people, it affects all people. Because what happens in one community impacts other communities. We're always the canary in the coal mine. Anything that happens to us happens to everybody else. I want to tell you, it is despicable that the government of Canada has allowed this to continue. The mayor of Montreal is personally liable for her inaction. And I will say this, when I am elected and when the Conservative government comes in, we're going to make sure that the legislation that's already there is enforced, enacted, and we're going to make sure that provincial governments, police forces know that the orientation is to stop anti-Semitism, stop hate, and make sure our streets are protected. Because right now, if you have no safety and you have no security, you have nothing. It doesn't matter how much money you think you have. It doesn't matter how important you believe you are. If you're not safe, and you're not secure, you have nothing. You came to this country because Canada was a beacon of light. It used to be a beacon of light. People from all over the world would say, I'm coming to Canada. It's a great place. But that light has faded. That light under the Liberal government has turned into a spot of nothing. We're going to reignite that light. We're going to make Canada a beacon. But first, we're going to correct our problems here in Canada. And to do that, we need your help. We need your help. And I need your help to spread a message that we are going to reject the Liberals, reject the NDP, and reject anybody who doesn't love our country. Because anti-Semitism is not a Canadian value. It's not a Quebec value. It's not a human value. We will stop it with the appropriate legislation. We will work with the RCMP. We will work with CSIS. We will work with the Canadian Border Security Services. And we will make sure that people who are coming here will not be able to come here and spread their hate and violence. It has to stop. It will stop. And let me tell you something. Listen to me. I'm going to make sure it stops because I am a strong person. And I understand that some people only understand strength and law. The rule of law is the guideline for our lives. It's the guideline for Canada. And we will make sure the rule of law is enforced.
Yeah, I really like the answer. We need it. We need it because we see also crime rising everywhere.
Sure.
As I was mentioning, I was driving somewhere in a city with my children and I saw people fighting. I've never seen it in an area which I know really very well. I think this kind of anarchy brings just more of mess and absence of law.
Yeah, well, again, when people are frustrated and they don't see hope, they turn to things that are not good. I reject violence. It is not Canadian. It's not Quebec. We live in a land of tolerance, of acceptance, and of diversity. Why do people commit crimes? There are many reasons. You know, I'm a lawyer. While I don't practice criminal law, I deal with a lot of cases and people in difficult times. I'm not here to judge people, but I'm here to tell you that the law has to be applied. You should be able to go to your streets and walk at night and not be fearful that somebody will mug you or take your property. But that's a question that when you have a poor and weak central government that doesn't send strong messages that we need as Canadians to be mindful of our neighbors, of our co-citizens, it creates an atmosphere where people who are naturally perhaps not as respectful of the law will do bad things. But how do we change that? First, we build a better economy. Second, we send stronger messages that the law will be applied. You can't go commit a crime, go to court, get let out on bail, go back on the street, commit the crime, go back to court, and keep doing that like it's a merry-go-round. Look, if you catch a piranha, do you throw it back into the ocean? No, you keep it out of the ocean. You keep it out of the water. So what I'm suggesting to everybody is we need the more enforcement of law. We need to make sure that criminals, while entitled to their day in court under the rule of law, it's not a revolving door where they're going to keep going back out there and doing what they do, which they shouldn't be doing. So the reality is, yes, it's a problem. No, I didn't create it. No, you didn't create it. Yes, we're going to fix it. We have already very strong policy on the issue of bail. We also have a strong issue on ensuring that law enforcement, which wants to do the corrective measures, will be given the resources to do it, even though that's provincial or city. Federal government is always involved in ensuring the safety of Canadians at many levels.
Actually, I learned something new. I didn't know that Conservative government also has a new policy to propose.
Oh yes, on the issue of bail, yes, Pierre Poilievre has said often that we cannot allow criminals to keep going out on bail who are repeat offenders. You know, it's a very sensitive thing because, you know, people say, well, criminals must have the same rights as citizens. Yes, of course, all citizens have the same rights. But, you know, there comes a point where law has to meet the circumstances. And that'll be for judges who are independent, who will make applications, who will receive applications and will adjudicate. But what I'm saying as a person, as a human being, we do not want this merry-go-round of crime going around anymore. We need safe environments. It goes to the issue of hope. Hope also deals with the fact that you know that it's safe out there for you. And each and every one of you might have come from a different part of the world where safety had different meanings. Well, here in Canada, it has one meaning. You, your children, and your family should be safe to walk on the streets without fear of criminals trying to take your property, steal your car, and do harm. And unfortunately now, that's not the feeling. And you know, feeling, which I don't work on feeling, I work on facts. But sentiment really is very important in the psyche of a nation. Our nation does not feel enthusiastic for the future. Maybe you do in part on some things, but I've talked to a lot of people. I knock on doors, and you know what they tell me? They want change. So the question is, are you ready for change? It's your answer. I know I am. Are you?
I'm ready for a change.
That's good to hear, because that's what we need.
I would like you also to explain to many of our viewers how important to vote for Conservative Party, how the system works in Canada, because many people say, okay, I don't vote for Liberals, I'm gonna go for a nice guy from a small party.
Sure. Okay, so first, the system in Canada is you might vote for a person who's running for a party. For an example, in my case, Neil Oberman running for the Conservative Party Canada, but you're voting for a leader. You're voting for a leader in the federal government. So first and foremost, I don't tell people how to vote. You vote the way that you feel that you need to vote. But I'm asking people to think about their vote. Your vote counts. Now, if you vote for a person, well, I'm sorry, you're voting for the party. So if you vote for a Liberal, you're voting for Mr. Trudeau or whoever comes next. If you vote for Neil Oberman, you're voting for Pierre Poilievre, who I stand by, and I'm proud to say that I'm a Conservative. Now, with respect to other parties, I can't tell you how to vote again. But ask yourself this. Could you imagine that if there's a close election and it's a difference of a couple hundred votes, how your vote can make the difference? So if you're thinking about squandering it, and I say that respectfully, on the NDP or somebody else, understand first what that party brings to you, and second, how you individually can bring change. And I'm going to retract the word squander. It's inappropriate. I'm going to say the way you exercise your democratic civil right has an impact on your neighbors and on your friends. And don't we want our friends and neighbors to be safe, secure, and prosperous? If that's the case, I think you know where you need to put your vote. Put it in the right place where it counts. I don't ask you who you're voting for. Just make sure you do your homework, you know what's involved, and you make the right decision.
Thank you very much. That was very important, I think, to bring this message to a community.
I have, if I may, a final sort of, I'd like to share something with you. Every day when I open my door and I go out, I don't recognize where I live. Of course, I know I live in Montreal, but I don't recognize the values that I personally grew up with. And this, to me, is the reason why we have the greatest of opportunities to bring back hope to our country, regenerate and rejuvenate those elements that we saw that brought us here from lands abroad. But I will tell you this, if you want a place to live that's safe and secure and prosperous, you can't vote for the Liberal government. They have shown their colors. They have shown their inability to effectively manage our country. They have shown that they will not protect you as Jews. They have shown that they don't care about you, that they're more interested in bringing people from lands abroad that don't want to participate in our country. So when you go to the polls and you're thinking about how to put your mark on the paper, think about this. Will your children want to be here in 5 years? Will you want to be here in 5 years? That's for you to decide. But every day that I get up and I don't see my country that I love, I will continue to work hard for you and you and you. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.